The gallery lights cast long shadows across the polished floor. Nathan Blackwood stood alone before the photograph of the Guggenheim, its curves reminding him of everything he'd lost. 3 years since the accident. 3 years since Caroline's laugh had filled their penthouse. 3 years of building towers to escape the guilt that lived in his chest like broken glass. He shouldn't have come tonight. Art galleries were Caroline's world, not his. Buildings are frozen music. The voice came from beside him, soft, certain. He turned to find a young woman staring at the same photograph, her eyes bright with something he'd forgotten existed. Wonder. She was younger than him by at least a decade, wearing a simple dress that had seen better days, dark hair pulled back, revealing a face that held both exhaustion and hope in equal measure. Louis Sullivan said that, Nathan replied, his throat tight. Form follows function. Her smile was sudden, transforming her tired features. You know architecture? I build things. He extended his hand, feeling the unfamiliar pull of curiosity. Nathan Blackwood. Jessica Monroe. Her handshake was firm, honest. Professional coffee maker. Aspiring architect. They walked through the gallery together. Nathan found himself asking questions, listening to her talk about sustainable housing and buildings that served people instead of egos. Her passion was raw, unfiltered. It reminded him of Caroline before the world had taught them both that dreams required compromise. When they reached the exit, Nathan made a decision that surprised even him. Have dinner with me. I don't even know you. I know. Nathan held her gaze. But I think we're supposed to meet. I have a project. Something important. And I think you might be the architect I've been searching for. The restaurant was too expensive, the wine too rare. Jessica looked uncomfortable in her cardigan, but Nathan couldn't look away from her. Over seared scallops and white burgundy, he told her things he'd never told anyone. About the accident. About Caroline dying, while he walked away without a scratch. About building an empire to outrun survivor's guilt. You can't punish yourself forever, Jessica said quietly, her hand covering his on the white tablecloth. Life is too fragile to waste living in the past. Nathan stared at her hand on his. This stranger with tired eyes and an open heart. I want you to design the Caroline Blackwood Community Center, he said. In her memory. In the neighborhood where she grew up. A place that matters. Jessica pulled her hand back. Why me? No firm will even interview me. Because when you looked at those photographs tonight, you saw what Caroline saw. Possibility. Hope. Nathan leaned forward. And because from the moment I saw you, I felt something I haven't felt in 3 years. The air between them shifted, charged. What did you feel? Jessica whispered. Nathan's voice was barely audible. That maybe I'm allowed to live again. The car idled outside her Queens apartment building. Rain began to fall, blurring the streetlights into halos of gold. Nathan took her hand, his thumb tracing her knuckles. I need to be honest, he said. This isn't just about the project. There's something between us. I feel it. Tell me you feel it too. Jessica's breath caught. I feel it. But Nathan, you're grieving. I'm broke and inexperienced. This is crazy. The best things usually are. She should have walked away. Should have recognized the warning signs. A wealthy widower. A life-changing opportunity. A connection that felt too intense, too fast. Instead, Jessica squeezed his hand and whispered, Send me the project details. I'll design something beautiful. As she disappeared into her building, Nathan watched the rain slide down his window. For the first time in 3 years, the emptiness in his chest felt less like a wound and more like a space waiting to be filled. He didn't notice the figure watching from across the street. Didn't see the camera lens capturing Jessica's face as she turned to wave goodbye. Some collisions change everything. This one was about to destroy them both. 6 weeks later, Jessica's hands moved across the drafting table in Nathan's office tower, the 42nd floor. Glass walls revealing Manhattan like a promise. She'd quit the coffee shop 3 weeks ago. Burning her sensible shoes in a moment of reckless celebration, the community center was taking shape. Brick exterior honoring Brooklyn's character. Windows that invited light, like hope. Spaces that flowed from daycare to education center to art studios. Transition natural as breathing. Nathan appeared in her doorway holding 2 cups of coffee. It was past midnight. The building was empty, except for them. "You're still here," he said. "So are you." He set the coffee on her desk, his fingers brushing hers. The touch lasted a second too long. They'd been dancing around each other for weeks. Professional during the day. Something else entirely when the lights dimmed and they were alone. "Show me what you've done, Nathan," said Jessica, unfurled the latest drawings. Nathan leaned close, studying her work. She could feel his warmth, smell his cologne mixed with the coffee. Her pulse hammered. "It's perfect," he whispered. "She would have loved this. Tell me about her." Jessica turned to face him. They were inches apart. "Really tell me." Not the edited version. Nathan's jaw tightened. "Why?" "Because I'm designing a building in her name, and I'm falling for her husband." The words escaped before Jessica could stop them. "I need to know who I'm competing with." The silence stretched like a wire about to snap. "You're not competing," Nathan said finally. His hand came up, cupping her face with devastating gentleness. "Caroline was my past. You're something I never expected. Something that terrifies me." "Why does it terrify you?" "Because wanting you feels like betraying her, and not wanting you feels like betraying myself." Jessica closed the distance between them. Their first kiss was soft, tentative. Then Nathan's hand slid into her hair, and the kiss deepened. 3 years of loneliness, meeting 6 months of hope in a collision that left them both breathless. When they finally pulled apart, Nathan pressed his forehead to hers. "This complicates everything," he said. "I know. We should wait until the project is finished." "Keep this professional." Jessica laughed shakily. "That ship sailed about 30 seconds ago." Nathan smiled, and Jessica realized it was the first real smile she'd seen from him. Not the careful business smile or the sad ghost of happiness. This was real. "Come home with me tonight," he said. "No expectations. I just want to fall asleep knowing you're there." Should have said no. Should have maintained boundaries. But Jessica had spent her whole life being careful, being responsible, being the girl who colored inside the lines. "Yes," she whispered. His penthouse was everything she expected. Modern, expensive, cold. But Nathan led her to the bedroom and gave her one of his shirts to sleep in. They lay in the darkness, fully clothed, her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. "I'm scared," Nathan admitted. "Scared that I'm using you to feel alive again. Scared that this is real, and I'll lose you too." Jessica turned to look at him in the dim light. "What if we're both just scared people trying to find something worth being brave for?" He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, finally her mouth. Soft and reverent. "Stay with me," he said against her lips. "Not just tonight. Stay. Nathan, we barely know each other. I know you see beauty in broken things. I know you design buildings for people who need hope. I know that when you smile, it feels like the sun coming out after years of rain." His voice cracked. "I know that's enough." Jessica felt tears on her cheeks. "Okay, I'll stay." They fell asleep tangled together, 2 damaged people building something fragile and precious in the dark. Neither of them heard the email notification on Nathan's phone. Neither saw the message from his business partner, Richard Chen. "We need to talk about the Monroe girl. Found something you need to see. Call me immediately." The warning went unread while Jessica and Nathan dreamed of buildings that could shelter. Broken hearts. Morning would bring the first crack in their foundation. But tonight, they believed in the possibility of redemption. Asterisk. The conference room felt like a trap. Jessica sat across from Nathan and his business partner, Richard. The morning sun too bright through the floor-to-ceiling windows. She'd woken in Nathan's arms 3 hours ago, happy, safe. Now Richard's eyes held something cold and knowing. Richard said to Nathan, "Or I will." Nathan's face had gone pale. "Richard, this isn't the time. There's never going to be a good time." Richard slid a folder across the table to Jessica. "Open it." Jessica's hands shook as she opened the file. Inside were photographs. her at the gallery, her outside Nathan's building, her at the Sunset Park site, and beneath them, printed emails, her emails, to architectural firms, to Nathan's competitors, emails she'd sent months ago, before she'd ever met him, offering her services, her ideas, her desperation for any opportunity, including one to Sterling Associates, Nathan's biggest rival. "I don't understand," Jessica whispered. Richard's voice was sharp. "2 months before you randomly met Nathan at that gallery, you sent Sterling Associates a proposal for a community center project, suspiciously similar to the one you're designing now. And 3 days after Nathan hired you, someone leaked preliminary plans to Sterling, plans that only you had access to." Jessica's stomach dropped. "No, that's not what happened." "Then explain the emails," Richard demanded. "I sent proposals to everyone. I was desperate for work. I never mentioned Nathan's project to anyone." Jessica turned to Nathan, her voice breaking. "You have to believe me. I would never betray you." Nathan's expression was unreadable. "The leak is real, Jessica. Someone gave Sterling enough information to submit a competing bid for the Sunset Park land. They're trying to buy it out from under us. It wasn't me." Tears burned her eyes. "Nathan, please." "She's playing you," Richard said coldly. "Pretty girl, sad story, perfect timing. She targeted you. Used your grief. Used the project to get access to your business. That's a lie." Jessica stood, her chair scraping back. "I didn't even know who you were when we met." Richard pulled out another document. "Your roommate Carmen works for a catering company, a company that serviced Blackwood development events for 3 years. She knew exactly who Nathan Blackwood was. Convenient that she'd been pushing you to go to that gallery opening." The room spun. Carmen had suggested the gallery, had insisted Jessica go, had even paid for her subway fare because Jessica was broke, but Carmen wouldn't. She couldn't. "This is insane," Jessica breathed. Nathan finally spoke, his voice hollow. "I need you to leave the office. Today. Until we figure this out. You're firing me?" Jessica's voice cracked on the words, "I'm protecting the project." Nathan wouldn't meet her eyes. "And protecting myself. Look at me." Jessica's command was sharp enough that Nathan's gaze snapped to hers. "Look at me and tell me you believe I used you." The silence was devastating. "I don't know what to believe anymore," Nathan said finally. "I thought I knew Caroline too. I thought our marriage was solid. Found out after she died that she'd been planning to leave me. That the trip she took that night, the one that killed her, was supposed to be the beginning of her new life without me." Jessica's breath caught. "Nathan. Everyone lies, Jessica. Everyone uses you if you let them. I was a fool to think you were different. I love you." The words tore out of her, raw, desperate. "True." Richard laughed, the sound ugly. "Of course you do. Love is an excellent investment strategy." Jessica looked between them. Nathan's face was stone. Richard's was triumphant. She was losing everything, and she didn't even understand how. "Fine," she grabbed her bag, her hands shaking so badly she could barely hold it. "Fire me. Believe whatever you want. But I'll prove I didn't do this." "Don't come back to this building," Richard said. "Security has already deactivated your access card." Jessica turned to Nathan one last time. He was staring at the table, his hands clenched into fists. The man who'd held her last night, who'd whispered that she was his son after years of rain, was gone. "I thought you were different too," she said softly. "I thought you were brave enough to trust again. I was wrong." She walked out before the tears could fall. In the elevator, Jessica's phone buzzed. A text from Carmen.Jess, "We need to talk." About Nathan. About the project. "I did something terrible and I need to tell you before it's too late." Jessica stared at the message as the elevator descended. Her best friend. Her only friend. The betrayal wasn't from Sterling Associates. It was from the person she'd trusted most. By the time she reached the lobby, Jessica had made a decision. She would find the truth. She would clear her name. And she would make everyone who'd underestimated her pay for it, even if it meant destroying Nathan Blackwood in the process. Asterisk. Carmen's apartment smelled like jasmine and lies. Jessica stood in the doorway, her former best friend's tear-stained face confirming everything. The manila envelope in Carmen's shaking hands held the final pieces of the betrayal. "Start talking," Jessica said. Her voice was ice. "Richard Chen approached me 6 months ago." Carmen's words tumbled out. "Before you even met Nathan. He said he'd been watching Blackwood development, looking for a way in. He knew Nathan was planning the community center. Knew he was vulnerable, so you sold me out. He offered me $50,000. Carmen's voice broke. "My mother's medical bills, Jess. The cancer treatments. I was drowning." Jessica's laugh was bitter. "So you drowned me instead. I didn't know I'd be drowning you." Carmen sobbed. "Richard's plan was simple. Get you to that gallery. Make sure you caught Nathan's attention. You're beautiful, talented, exactly his type. Once Nathan hired you, I'd pass along project details to Richard, who'd feed them to Sterling Associates. They'd outbid Nathan for the land. Nathan would lose millions, and Richard would get revenge for some old business grudge." Revenge. Jessica's stomach turned. This was about revenge. Carmen nodded miserably. Richard's sister. She was Carolyn Blackwood's best friend. Was in the car the night of the accident. She survived, but she's paralyzed now. Richard blames Nathan for driving that night, for walking away unscathed, while his sister's life was destroyed. The pieces clicked into place. The convenient meeting. The perfect project. Nathan's paranoia about being used. He'd been right about everything except who was using him. Where's Richard now? Jessica demanded. Carmen handed her the envelope. "Meeting with Sterling Associates at 4 o'clock to finalize the land purchase. These are copies of everything. The money trail. His emails. Proof that you were innocent." Jessica took the envelope. "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because I saw your face this morning." "On the news?" Carmen's voice cracked. "Nathan held a press conference. Said you stole from him. Ruined you publicly. And I realized that Richard never planned to just take Nathan's money. He wanted to destroy him completely, and he used both of us to do it." Jessica checked her phone. 17 missed calls from unknown numbers. 6 voicemails from journalists. Her name was being dragged through the mud while Richard Chen positioned himself as the hero who'd exposed her. She had 3 hours to stop Sterling Associates from stealing the Sunset Park land. 3 hours to clear her name and save the project Caroline Blackwood had dreamed of. 3 hours to decide if Nathan Blackwood deserved her help. After what he'd done, Jessica made her choice. The Sterling Associates boardroom was oak and leather, and men who thought they'd already won. Jessica walked in without an invitation, the envelope in her hand, her head high despite the security guard trying to stop her. "Gentlemen," she announced, "I have something you need to see." Richard Chen went white. For the next hour, Jessica laid out everything. The money trail from Richard to Carmen. The fabricated emails. The surveillance photos proving Richard had orchestrated their meeting. The real reason behind his revenge plot. The Sterling Associates CEO looked at Richard with cold fury. "You used our firm to settle a personal vendetta? Made us complicit in corporate espionage?" "She's lying," Richard said desperately. "She's trying to save herself." Jessica pulled out her phone and played a recording. Carmen's confession, captured that morning, naming Richard as the architect of the entire scheme. "The land purchase is off," the CEO said. "And our lawyers will be in touch about damages, Mr. Chen." Jessica walked out of that boardroom with her name cleared and Richard's career in ashes. She should have felt victorious. Instead, she felt empty. Her phone rang. "Nathan, I know everything," he said without preamble. Richard confessed after Sterling Associates threatened to sue. "Jessica, I'm sorry doesn't begin to cover this." "Oh, it doesn't? Well, let me make it right. The project is yours. Full creative control. Double the fee. We can start over." Jessica stood on the sidewalk, rain starting to fall just like it had the night they met. "You didn't believe me? When it mattered most, you chose to believe I was using you. Just like everyone else in your life. I was wrong. I was scared and paranoid and wrong." "You were human," Jessica said softly. But that doesn't change what happened. You destroyed my reputation on national television. You told the world I was a thief and a liar. Even with the truth out, some people will always believe your version. I'll fix it. Press conference. Public apology. Whatever you need. Jessica closed her eyes. What I need is for you to finish the community center. Not with me. Hire the best architect you can find. Make it beautiful. Make it everything Caroline dreamed of. You're the best architect I know. Maybe. Jessica's voice cracked. But I can't look at you without seeing the moment you gave up on me. And you can't look at me without wondering if I'm lying. That's not love, Nathan. That's damage, recognizing damage. The silence on the line was broken only by the sound of rain and breathing. I love you, Nathan whispered. I know I don't deserve to say that, but I do. I love you too. Tears mixed with rain on Jessica's face. That's why I have to walk away. Because we're both too broken to build something that won't collapse. Jessica, please. Build the center. Change lives. Honor Carolyn. That's how you make this right. She took a shaking breath. Goodbye, Nathan. She ended the call before he could respond. Jessica stood in the rain, holding the envelope that had cleared her name and cost her everything. She'd proven her innocence, saved the project, destroyed the man who'd tried to use her, and lost the only person who'd made her believe. She deserved more than serving coffee and surviving. Her phone buzzed one last time. A text from Nathan. The center will have your name on it. Monroe Hall. So everyone knows it was your vision, your heart, your brilliance. Thank you for saving something I wasn't brave enough to fight for, Jessica. Deleted the message. Then she walked into the rain. Toward a future that no longer included the man with sad gray eyes and a broken heart that matched her own. Some sacrifices save. Everyone but yourself. This was one of them. 18 months later, Jessica stood outside Monroe Hall, watching children pour through the doors she'd designed. The brick exterior glowed warm in the afternoon sun. Through the windows, she could see art classes in session. Daycare workers reading to toddlers. Adults bent over computer keyboards learning new skills. It was everything she'd imagined. Everything Caroline Blackwood had dreamed of. And her name was carved above the entrance in letters that made her chest ache. Wondered if you'd come. Ack, Nathan's voice. She'd recognize it anywhere. Jessica turned slowly. He looked different. Older maybe, or perhaps just more settled. The guilt that had haunted his eyes was still there, but softer now. Healed at the edges. I had to see it finished, Jessica said. Even if I wasn't the one who finished it. You finished it. Nathan gestured to the building. Every brick, every window, every space that flows like water from one purpose to another, that's all you. The architect I hired executed your vision perfectly, but it was always your heart in these walls. Jessica's throat tightened. It's beautiful. You're beautiful. She met his eyes then. Found him watching her with something that looked like hope and resignation mixed together. I did the press conference, Nathan continued. Cleared your name publicly. Richard serving 18 months for corporate espionage. Carmen's mother got her treatments. The cancer's in remission. I know. I've been following the story. Have you been following me? Jessica smiled sadly. Sometimes, when I'm weak, Nathan stepped closer. Not touching, but close enough that she could smell his cologne. The same one he'd worn that night in the gallery when their worlds collided. I've been in therapy, he said, working through the guilt about Caroline, the paranoia about being used, the self-destructive patterns that make me push away everyone who gets close. That's good. I'm glad I learned something important. Nathan's voice dropped. I learned that loving someone means trusting them, even when you're terrified. Even when every instinct screams that you're going to get hurt. Love is choosing belief over fear. Jessica felt tears building. Nathan, don't. I chose fear. When it mattered most, I chose to believe the worst about you, because it was easier than risking my heart again. He finally closed the distance between them, his hands gentle on her shoulders. I've spent 18 months becoming someone worthy of a second chance. Not just from you. For myself, I've built a life, Jessica whispered. I have my own firm now. Small projects. Community centers in other cities. I'm finally doing work that matters. Hey, I know. I've been following your career. You're extraordinary. Nathan's thumb brushed her cheek. I'm not asking you to give that up. I'm asking if there's room in that life for a man who's learning to be brave. Jessica closed her eyes. You broke me, I know. Spent months putting myself back together. Rebuilt my reputation piece by piece. Learned to trust my own judgment again. I know. And now you're standing here in front of a building with my name on it, asking me to risk everything again. Nathan's hands fell away. You're right. I'm being selfish. You've moved on. I should let you go. He turned to walk away. Nathan, wait. He stopped, his back to her. Jessica took a breath. I spent 18 months telling myself I was better off without you. That I was stronger alone. That love wasn't worth the risk of being destroyed again. Were you right? His voice was barely audible. I don't know. Jessica walked to him, placed her hand on his shoulder, felt him tense under her touch. But I know that when I designed this building, I was designing it for you. For us. For the possibility that broken people can create something whole if they're willing to do the work. Nathan turned, his eyes searching hers. What are you saying? I'm saying that I'm terrified. That you hurt me worse than anyone ever has. That trusting you again feels like stepping off a cliff. And don't. I'll understand. Jessica reached up, cupping his face the way he'd done to her that night in his office when everything changed. I'm also saying that 18 months without you taught me something important. Some people are worth the fall. Nathan's breath caught. Jessica, I don't forgive you. Not completely. Not yet. Her voice was steady. But I'm willing to build something new. Something with a stronger foundation this time. If you're willing to do the work every day. Nathan's hands covered hers. For the rest of my life, if you'll let me, no promises. No declarations. We start slow. Coffee dates. Phone calls. Proving that we can be the people we've become instead of the people we were. I can do that. And if you ever choose fear over me again, I walk away and I don't come back. Nathan nodded solemnly. I understand. You deserve nothing less than complete belief. They stood there. Two people who'd been shattered and rebuilt. Holding each other's faces in the shadow of a building that represented hope and second chances. I missed you, Jessica whispered. God, I missed you so much. I missed you too. Nathan leaned his forehead against hers. Every single day, their kiss was soft, tentative. Nothing like the desperate collision of their first kiss. This was something gentler, more honest. The kiss of two people who knew exactly what they were risking and chose to risk it anyway. When they pulled apart, Nathan smiled. That real smile she'd seen only once before. Want to get coffee? He asked. There's a place in Brooklyn I know. It's in the basement of a community center. Jessica laughed, the sound bright in the afternoon air. Are you asking me on a first date? Second, technically. But yes. Then yes. And she took his hand. Let's start over. Slowly, carefully, with our eyes open this time. They walked toward the coffee shop in Monroe Hall. Past children playing, and adults learning, and hope growing in spaces designed for healing. Behind them, the building stood strong, a testament to what could be created when broken people chose to build instead of hide. When fear was acknowledged but not allowed to win, when love was given a foundation solid enough to weather storms. Some stories don't have neat endings. Some love requires constant rebuilding, daily choices to trust, perpetual acts of courage. But some foundations, once properly laid, can support anything, even to damaged hearts, learning to beat in sync. The end.